I am a book snob in recovery, and it's time to face the final boss: viral TikTok romances. My name is Chloe, welcome to my channel, Recovering Book Snob. This week I am reading books that I expect to hate, books that I expect to really challenge my snobbery, challenge how far I've come in not turning my nose up at books. I think some of these maybe deserve to have my nose turned up at them, but that's not for me to judge, that's for me to test. I found these books, by the way, by just Googling viral TikTok romance books and choosing the ones with the most upsetting covers. I'm already being so snobby. You can see like why I need this channel and I need this exposure therapy. Starting off really strong, we've got the It Starts With Us series by Coleen Hoover. These are essentially about a toxic romance with a bit of a love triangle. The protagonist is called Lily Bloom and she owns a flower shop, which I actually don't hate. I see people talking about like how that's cringe, and I actually think it sounds like that's one of the lesser crimes in these books. And also the internet has really been quite mean to Coleen Hoover about these books. So I think these will be the greatest challenge, and I'm going to start with them. The next one I'm going to read is The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. I think if I'm really conjuring up like my judgmental bone, the worst thing about this book for me is the cover and the use of the word hypothesis, because I did sciences at uni, so there's so little that's sexy and romantic about science. I'm just being real. Like, labs are sweaty. Like, they're really sweaty places, and I just can't imagine falling in love there. I did more recently find out that the author is actually a highly qualified scientist though, so I think the premise is exactly what you think the premise is. I think she like randomly kisses a guy and it's a guy that she doesn't expect to like, but then she probably falls in love with. We'll see. The final book is definitely the most controversial on my list, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I watched the Normal People TV series, and the reason why Normal People the book is on my list is because I really didn't like the TV series. Okay, it's more complex than that. The acting was incredible, the characters were very vivid, the cinematography was beautiful, and there were some really incredible like themes in there, but I really didn't like them as a couple and their relationship with one another, or at least I didn't like the framing of it. I feel like the relationship in Normal People is actually really messed up and they deeply hurt each other, but the framing of it and like everyone says, the way everyone talks about it online is as though they're like so in love and so meant to be, but I don't feel any really reason why they should be together, and it just seems dodgy. Anyway, I need to get reading. We're gonna see you maybe in 10 pages. Hello, I've read 10 pages of this book and it's okay. I think my own, like my major criticism right now, or complaint that I'm a little bit concerned about, is there's a very obvious attempt to build sexual tension and I'm not responding to it, and my lack of response is quite visceral, and I'm worried because this whole book is about these two people, Ryle and Lily, and I don't like their interactions. But we soldier on. Okay, so I am at page 200, which is just over halfway through, and I have to say I'm struggling with this book quite a lot. I'm struggling more than I thought I would. I think when I decided to read it, I thought it would be something closer to Taylor Jenkins Reid books. There's this saying that I recently found out about, so I'm not trying to pretend I know how to write well, but it really resonated with me, and it's the idea that great writing shows you what it means instead of telling you, and this book epitomizes writing that tells you, and I also think it ends up feeling a bit slow, to me at least. It ends up feeling slow, or at least just like not concise, because it will say everything, like stuff that really could have been implied and was implied, it will still say it. So this book is a first person, it's from the point of view of Lily, and it's mostly just like normal first person, but then occasionally we look back at her journals where she talks about her first love. And these journals are quite weird anyway, because I feel like usually when you look at journals, it serves, like, it's very distinct from the writing, and there's a kind of point to the author using journals to look back, but I'm finding there's like the writing is basically the same whether it be journal or not, even though like she's meant to be 16 in the journals and 23 when she's writing, or like 15 when she's writing the journals and 23 in the kind of current timeline that the book's looking at. And the voice just doesn't mature at all. Like, the topics, this deals with quite steamy scenes and also abuse and some really intense things, but I find that the character Lily feels like a 15-year-old in what she thinks and what she says, and it just feels very immature. I also find the dialogue really, really cringe. As expected, I really don't like the main male protagonist, Ryle, and he sort of fancies himself as this like stone cold narcissist. I am cringing quite a lot as I read it. So yeah, unfortunately I have been kind of disappointed. I hoped it would be a bit better. I think in particular the writing is what I'm most shocked by, because it's so highly rated. So I don't know, I do think I must be doing something wrong, to be honest, because like books bring different things to the table, and I think I maybe need to just approach this book in a different way and like expect to get different things from it. The next sort of 180 pages are gonna really decide for me whether it's okay. Anyway, I'll see you when I finish, maybe. Hello, I have just finished It Ends With Us, and it's actually been quite the roller coaster. As you know, I really wasn't gelling with it. My snobbery overcame me. I think I've just been really spoiled these past few months because I've read books that are just written so well. I sort of forgot that that's actually the top tier, and that a lot of books aren't written like that. I can't believe people think that the guy in this book is charming. That first scene on the roof even is already just so concerning, I think, if a man behaved like that towards me. And I think this book, a lot of their relationship rides on kind of sexual chemistry and not much else, and I really don't like that in a story. Having said that, sorry, I should have started with the positive. I mean, I read it until the end and I read it quite fast, and I sort of ultimately enjoyed myself. And I wasn't giving this book enough credit earlier on, or at least I wasn't seeing its value earlier on, but now that I've finished it, I kind of understand that its depiction of domestic abuse is pretty solid. Like, it shows how you can be manipulated by someone, you can love someone while being hurt by them. It just shows that these scenarios are way more complicated than what you might think, and it also shows how the people around you kind of help with that manipulation, and because it's just taboo, and because people don't want to assume the worst, and there's like always a reason for someone's behaviour, and there are like a lot of layers that it does get across. So I was really pleasantly surprised, and I do now kind of understand more why this is such a popular book. What I don't like though is that and I am actually kind of debating this, so let me know what you think, but I do find this book, the way it romanticizes their relationship, was making me quite uncomfortable. But then I realised that that's probably kind of intentional, or at the very least just a symptom of it being first person point of view. You know, obviously it's going to be super romanticized, and obviously it's going to be framed like a love story because it's from the point of view of Lily. I'm still going to have to give this 2 stars because the writing just... I can't sit through a book and cringe that much and give it the same rating that I've given some of the other books that I've given 3 stars. I'm definitely quite critical on Goodreads, like my reviews are quite harsh, but I'm sorry, Coleen. I'm curious as to how the rest of her books are, whether the writing is all like this or whether it gets dialed back a little bit. And I'm a little bit scared for the sequel because the way this book ended was... I've just read it. I don't want to completely spoil it if you haven't read it yet, but I am worried for the sequel because this feels like a nice little package, and I'm worried for that package to be reopened. I don't want it to be reopened, So I'm gonna hold off, I think, and read The Love Hypothesis now, which I've just found out a few of you have commented that it's actually Star Wars fanfic, which concerns me. I've never read fanfic before, but we're just gonna see how it goes. Okay, I'll let you know how I get on with it. Hello, we are 50 pages in. Also, this is a Women in STEM book, right? That's a Women in STEM poster. Coincidence? No. So I'm wearing my hoodie today. It's a hoodie day. It's been raining all day and I feel like a little bit sad for no reason. But this book is perking me up. I think I was just so shocked by the Coleen Hoover style of writing that when I started reading this, and like, yeah, it's very digestible and you don't have to concentrate too hard. It's not a brain buster, but it's not like spoon feeding in the way that I felt It Ends With Us was. I also, our protagonist, Olive, is incredibly ditzy, but it's all kind of sweet and like, you can see where it's going, but isn't that just the case with all of these kind of books? Like, obviously they fancy each other, you know? And neither of them seem to realise it, or at least she doesn't realise it yet. Hoping for some twists and turns. I'll let you know how I find them if they appear. Other than that, I'm really enjoying the science setting. As I said, I was suspicious because the cover was really cheesy and I was like, oh no, science book, but then the author is a scientist and you can see that in the writing. I don't know, we might have a good time with this one. Sorry, I forgot to mention two things. Number one is reading this series so far, because I know like the whole point of this video was it was kind of exposure therapy, you know, make me read books that I wouldn't usually read. And so far the main lesson I'm finding is I need to learn to appreciate that books are for different things, and sometimes you just need to know what to expect with certain styles of writing, and I need to get better at knowing like some books are for different seasons and for different needs. The other thing is, what is the original fan fiction that this book is based on? Do I want to read it? Has anyone read it? I don't really know like fan fiction lore. Is it all really sensual, or is that just rumours? I'm a little scared basically. Okay, see you in a bit. Hi, I'm eating curry. There's my enormous bowl of curry. I wish I could tell you it was the perspective, but it is in fact that large. Like, you know when you're trying to finish something off and there isn't enough for 2 portions, but it's way too much for one. That's what I'm dealing with right now. No regrets, to be honest. Anyway, I'm about 150 pages into The Love Hypothesis and I'm really enjoying it. Like, this is kind of exactly what I thought it would be like. I haven't been disappointed. It's basically a kind of rom-com in book form, and it's made me have a bit of a breakthrough, if I'm being honest, around my book snobbery, because I love rom-com-y shows. I love TV that's really feel good and it's like very sentimental, and maybe this is like everyone knew this and this is obvious, but I realised that that's how I should be approaching these books. They're a completely different type of thing. I think what's funny is that, and this is what made me think of the rom-com and like how it is similar. With rom-coms, you do know what's going to happen, but it's just about enjoying the journey. It's about enjoying it being predictable and kind of taking pleasure from the predictability of it, while also having enough little twists and turns, or at least wanting to find out sort of how you get there, even if you know they end up together or you know they fancy each other, as is the case with The Love Hypothesis. Yeah, it's about enjoying the ride. Okay, definitely rambled too much. I'm gonna eat my food now. See you soon. I'm suffering from quite intense shell shock right now because this book is really, really cutesy and PG, and it's all very butterflies and kisses, until one incredibly long graphic scene that I've just read, which I didn't realise was in it. So I'm learning things. Okay, sorry, I'm not done. Another thing, so the premise of this book is that she is fake dating this guy, and for reasons that are explained but I won't go into, she has to not, like, none of her friends know about it, and I just cannot believe not, like, giving my friends blow by blow debriefs of this scenario and, like, crushing on someone like this. And she needs to tell someone. Who is she telling? I hope she keeps a diary. How is she keeping this from one of her closest friends? I don't know. Guys, I have an apology to issue because I loved this book. It's quite funny, actually, side note. Emotional climaxes really make me, like, feel emotions. As I'm saying this, I realise I think this is just normal, but anyway, I was feeling quite emotional, a little bit teary, just, like, happy, enjoying myself. But the whole time we had the washing machine guy here to fix the washing machine, and that was just such a funny contrast because, like, we just have one room in the flat and the kitchen's just there, and so he was dragging huge bits of metal kitchen stuff around the kitchen while I was just sitting on the sofa reading my lovely little heartwarming rom-com, and the contrast was just, like, pretty amusing. But anyway, I know that I was really snobby and skeptical about the, like, science aspects of this book. I know I slightly took those things back when I realised that Ali Hazelwood actually is highly qualified, but I just want to take them back even more because as a woman, a former woman in STEM, it was so fun to read a book in that setting. It just felt really special. Ali Hazelwood, she's so good at creating, you've got this rom-com layer where, you know, it's, you know what's gonna happen, it's very cheesy, like, the character's adorable, you've got that layer, but then you also have quite realistic, very grounded, like, dialogue, so it's kind of believable even though on some level it's completely not believable and kind of ridiculous quite often, and it's just such a nice combo. So yeah, conclusion, I did like this book. On to the next one. I'm deciding between Normal People and the second It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us. I'm a little bit scared of It Starts With Us. See you in a bit. Okay, so I chose It Starts With Us in the end. I'm 60 pages in and I don't care very much about like, I'm not compelled to continue. Is that bad? Like, I do just think, although there were merits to It Ends With Us, my patience for Coleen Hoover's writing is wearing thin. I don't think it's for me. But for the sake of science and for this video, I will continue. And let's just hope I'm proven wrong. I'm sorry, but I really didn't like this book. I've just finished, so I really sped through it, but honestly it was just so I could get it over with. I don't want to be really negative. There's just so much waffle, in my humble opinion, and I feel that any kind of merits that It Ends With Us has were lost when it comes to this book. It just didn't feel like it needed to happen. I think obviously this sequel happened because the first book was so popular, and I get it, like, I would do the same, but it was pretty clear to me that this book was never meant to be a series. I am curious though, like, I don't know how to phrase this in a way that doesn't seem really insulting. I'm curious as to why this book became so popular. I just think that there are so many books out there that are easy reads but are still written in a way that feels delicious. I'm sorry. There's something about rating books lower than 3 stars if you yourself haven't written a book. It feels outrageous. Anyway, I've still got another day of my romance books week, so I'm happy to say that I've made it, and I will have time for Normal People. I'm quite busy tomorrow. We'll see if I finish it, and then I'll give you my final answer. Has the snobbery been reduced, or has this week just intensified it? So far the jury's definitely out. Let's be real. Hello, it is Saturday afternoon. I went for a run and had brunch, and I've just been lying on the sofa, my usual spot, reading Normal People. I'm at the 50-page mark, so I thought I'd give you guys an update. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of sad I saw the show first because it's interfering with my imagination, and I'm just really curious as to how I'd be feeling and how I'd be interpreting things if I hadn't read the show first. Yeah, the writing feels very beautiful, and the book is kind of giving me what was missing from the show. I wanted more understanding of why they liked each other and why they had chemistry, and being able to understand their thoughts because they're written down has been really helpful. Oh, another thing actually, I have been thinking about this a lot when I watch the show, because the whole premise with Normal People is that Marianne is unpopular, but she's also specifically described in the book as ugly, and it's about how like some people think she's the ugliest girl in school. And when I first saw the show, I was kind of like, oh, classic, like Hollywoodifying it. She was sort of very conventionally attractive, very beautiful. But the more I think about it and I think back to school, I remember there were a lot of people who were actually very conventionally attractive, but were just sort of not considered, like they were considered ugly because they weren't popular, or they didn't wear makeup, or didn't wear the right clothes. So yeah, mine. Happy Sunday. I haven't quite finished Normal People, but our week is up, the experiment is over. I've been reading books very much out of my comfort zone, and to be honest, I've actually found these books to be more out of my comfort zone than I thought, especially when it comes to writing style. I also haven't read this many, what's the word, intimate scenes in a week ever. I feel like the books I read have these scenes in them, but romance, these scenes are generally a huge plot point, a huge climax, so to speak. Sorry. Immature. All in all, I feel like it's been a really successful week. It's been really fun reading different authors and trying out books that I wouldn't usually read. I think romance is a genre that I will never, it kind of feels silly like talking about it like this, because so many books, almost all books will have a romance element, but books where the entire focus is romance, it'll always be a genre that I enjoy dipping into, but I can't see it being a fave, if I'm being honest. I don't know why. I think I just get a bit impatient, a bit irritated, and I also think having a book where the main focus is two characters and their interactions, like that's just quite high stakes, because if you don't like their chemistry, I feel like with romance you really are meant to be kind of rooting for them and really wanting to read about their story, and if you don't like that, it's kind of not an enjoyable experience. Ali Hazelwood in particular, I could see reading a bit more of that. Coleen Hoover, I'm intrigued. I might read, I think I randomly downloaded Verity once, her horror book, so I might read that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this foray into something I'm not used to. I hope this has helped with my evolution and that it didn't just intensify my snobbery. I worry that it has. But yeah, moral of the story, read the books you want to read. Is that the moral of the story? I think it is. Anyway, have a lovely week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.